Okay, students, this is the fourth week materials for our lessons. And this is entitled with application of linear function. So again, I will read what we have done. We have done for the introduction to economics and business mathematics, second of all linear function, and now we are going to the how to apply the linear function into the business and economic process or case. Right, we are going to discuss the case that happen in economic process or economic case, and the second one business case. So for economic case, we are going to apply that into the supply and demand case or process. And for business case, we are going to discuss to apply this linear function into the revenue function, cost or expenses function, and then a profit function. Okay, now we are going to discuss about the supply and demand first. So as you know that in your previous lecture in economic, demand theory is to describe the characteristic of the relationship between the demand quantity, where it means that the quantity of goods demanded by the consumer, and connect it with the price. So you can see here the description that is written in the slide, as I've said before. And then, okay, so now we learn about the demand curve, which is, this is a curve that describes the nature of the relationship between the price and the quantity of demand of a particular good. So you see the shape of the demand curve shows that consumers want to buy more products when prices decrease. Yeah. So as you can see here, when the quantities increase, the price is decreasing. Okay. So if you say that you have here at the quantity of Q1, it has the price of P1. So you see, then the next is Q2. So the quantity becomes higher, and look at the price. The price is going down. So this is what the consumer asks, to have this kind of situation. And as you can see, as you I think you remember that from our previous lecture, that in linear function, if it is so this is the function of y mx sorry a plus bx, or a plus mx. Okay, and m, we say that this is a slope, and if the value of m is positive, so the curve will go like this. Okay, so this is x and this is y. And if, let me erase this first, but in the contrary, if the value of m is negative, so the curve or the line will become like this. Okay, so demand theory, it looks like this graph. So for every demand theory, every demand function always has a negative slope. Okay, now this is again the general linear function, and this is the slope. Yeah, the slope is as a b, and a is the intercept, mean that when x is going to be 0, so if I fill the x equal to 0, then the y become a minus b times 0. So y is a. So that means that at the intersection of x equal to 0, the y is a. So at x0 over here, the y is a. So we call that as the intercept point, or it just intercept. And to apply that into the demand function, so we just change the p with the y and the x with the q. Yeah, similar intercept and similar slope. Just change the symbol over there. And our demand linear function, we add the name of the p. Yeah, so from p equal with a minus bq, we name it as a demand function just by putting the name of the d underside of the p and q. So remember that when you write the index, or always in the subscript format, write the index of the symbol, of the math symbol, always down. Yeah, so if I wrote p d, then the d should be here. Do not write it as pd, so this become p times d. So don't do this. All right, remember that. And next is the supply theory. So the pair of the demand theory, there is a supply theory. If there is any consumer asking for the goods, right? Goods is needed by the consumer. And who produced the goods? The producer. Right? So by the side of the consumer, we call that as a demand theory. The theory that studied about the consumer behavior, we call that as the demand theory. So then we describe that as a demand function. And for the at the producer side, this is the supply function. So the theory at the side of the producer, we call that as supply theory. Again, this will be described into a curve. So a curve that shows the relationship between the price of a particular goods and the quantity of the good offered. So as the producer, you are going to become a producer later on. You are the businessman, right? Businessman here. So whenever you make a product, the more product quantity, the more cost that you will have. So in order to balancing your cost, you want to make the price increase. Therefore, every increasing of the quantity, the producer want to have a higher price too. So the curve, or the shape of the supply curve, shows that at that price level higher, the company will increase output. So here is the Q1, yeah, for example, and it has a P1. Then we increasing the quantity. We see here that the P is going to increase also. Okay. Now, the supply linear function become like this. Oh no, sorry, this should be plus, yeah. Okay. This should be plus. Why? Because the curve is showing this. Remember that I have said before, the slope should be positive, and we have here the slope, or the coefficient that glued to the quantity, is positive. Okay. Again, the indexing should be go down with, and yeah, and the same with the Q. So P is the price, Q is the quantity. Now, if we have if from the consumer side, they always want that the price is always down, and for the producer, the price is always up. Okay, so it needs to be, it has to be, sorry, the consumer and producer should deal at the one point that they agree that at a certain quantity the price is this value. So in math we call that as equilibrium. Yeah, this equilibrium in the supply and demand theory, we call that as the market balance. So the curve become like this. This is the demand and this is the supply, and the equilibrium or the market balance is like this. It should be E, yeah? QE and PE, PE and QE. E is equilibrium. Okay? Now, in this area, upper the equilibrium point here, okay, and also in between of the lines, we call that as the surplus area. And then for the down here, okay, we call that as the shortage area. Right. Okay, next, to have market balance or equilibrium, we have to set that the price of demand and the price of supply is the same, and also the quantity of the demand and the quantity of supply is also the same. Okay, so you can choose PD, PS or QD equal to QS. All right, now let's have a deal that in Cartesian diagram, the P is always in the y-axis, P as a y-axis, and Q as at the x-axis. All right, and always form the P, always form the equation like this. Always have the P on the left side with the one coefficient, and here is the A plus BQ. Okay, so we call that as the explicit form of function P of Q. So PQ, P function of Q means that P is dependent variable, and Q is independent variable. Okay, so now I have three exercises here. The first one, okay, I'll change it with black. Number 1, PD equal with 3 minus Q. So PD is already 1 here, and now we can say that the slope of the function of this demand, the price demand, is -1. Why? Because the coefficient that near the Q is it's -1. Okay, so it has no number next to the Q, so it means that this is 1, and in front of the 1 is minus, so the slope is -1. Okay, and next is 2. This is the supply function. So this is the supply, supply function, and then 2Q minus 2. Okay, so P here is already have 1 as is coefficient, so we have already fulfilled, so it has already fulfilled the form of explicit form from PQ. So the the slope of the function P is what? +2. Why? because the number near the Q is 2. And the third demand function again, minus half Q plus 4, it's fulfilled 1, so the slope of the PD is minus half, since that the coefficient near the Q is minus half.